find a mentor locally. Find a friend who's been around for a little bit longer. It doesn't have to be any formal relationship necessarily. We have a great formal program in EXP, but you can always find someone somewhere who you look up to, who's done a whole lot more than you, and ask them if you can ride with them and run with them. I really think that that's probably the biggest advice I would give to a new agent coming in now.
All right. I'm super excited to have Lisa here all the way from the Cape, come to visit me in Miami, our national AAC chair this year and luxury ambassador. So many hats you wear for us. So I'm super excited to spend some time with you.
It's a full hat closet. That's the truth.
So Lisa, I think that conversations are interesting where people get to hear the backstory, right? Life is normally, especially in this digital world, a finished product. You know, a polished Instagram picture or a fancy LinkedIn resume. And I think it's fun to tell the story of how you got to where you're at. So let's actually take it all the way back to when you first got into real estate. I know you've taken some detours out of it and back to it. So I think that's a super interesting story to tell. So let's just jump right in and tell us how you found the real estate industry.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I actually started selling real estate in 1993. To be perfectly honest, I was looking, my kids were still young. I was looking for a career that I could start as I was kind of making my preparations to, I guess, to leave my first husband, I'll have to say it that way. I wanted to do something that I could still be at home, but I really, wanted to find something. So I thought, I'll take the real estate test. So I studied. It was kind of like a weekend or a couple weekend thing, and took the test, and then sold from 93 to 98. And anyone who's been around, knows that that's when interest rates were like 14%. There was only seller agents, and we loved it. We thought that, we thought life was great, and that's all we knew. We'd all line up to present our offers outside the door of the home, and then in the late 90s, I had a Mac, and I started to fool around on computers, and I built a website for the real estate office that I was in. And then the Century 21 in the town said, can you do it for me? And that kind of morphed into a technology career. And so I kind of left real estate and started a career in commercial internet. One thing kind of led to the other. I sold in technology for a while, and I didn't know a whole lot of the technology. I always had great engineers, but I loved sales. I was always kind of a collaborative, salesperson, and just in the right place at the right time, and was able to do that. And that world kept on shifting and moving. And at some point, one of the companies, a bunch of startups, and one of them folded. And I turned to my now husband at the time. I said, also my kids were starting to go off to school. I said, I just want to do something that has more meaning. And so I thought, I'll be a nurse practitioner. And my husband said, oh my God, you'll be like 50 when you get out of there. So I found the whole idea of massage therapy. I took a 900-hour program. I went for a year and a half. And everyone in my life was like, what? Because I've been a salesperson my whole life. But I really wanted to do something different, and I found myself in that world. And long story short, I worked in that world for about 6 years in a modality called compassionate touch, and we trained therapists to work with elders in facility care and people in end-of-life care. And it was really Dharma work for me. I didn't make any money. I mean, I did, but not really. But I really felt like I was making a difference. And the gal I was working with, who was the originator of the program, we built a level 1, a level 2, a teacher training. We trained all over the country. We were written up in all the massage magazines. It was quite something. The gal who I worked with, who started it, kept wanting to go back just to Springfield, Missouri, and just practice. And we kept almost having our Oprah moment. And my husband said to me, honey, how long are you going to stay on that roller coaster with someone else's dream? And I was like, oh my God, you're right. And so that's when I looked back at the things that I was excited about in life and what I loved. And real estate was one of them. So I looked around, and it doesn't take much in Massachusetts to be a realtor. So all I had to do was, a couple of hours of continuing education. And I jumped back in. So I've been back in the market since 15. But all of those things in my life, all of those experiences, all of those many careers have made me who I am today. And I know when I speak with so many realtors who are on their second, third, or fourth career, that's part of the beauty and what makes them so magnificent in working with the clients that they attract, because they have these rich backgrounds. Not saying anything about brand new agents, that's fabulous, but I also notice there are so many of us that have done a few things in life, and it just makes the experience so much richer. So that's the
And
the
how
long story
is
short.
it coming back to the industry, right? So this is like your second part of the real estate career.
So it's funny you say that, because right when I came back was right when the TRID requirements changed. And I didn't know anything different, right? So having that requirement, that seemed to make sense. I had 1 or 2 transactions prior to that, and we were literally sitting in an attorney's office by the fax machine waiting for the waiting for the CD to come in. So it kind of made sense to me that they would change those regulations. It was different in that there was buyer agency. I mean, that did not exist before. So that made sense all day long. We didn't have the kinds of decoupling and conversations we're having today, but that made sense to have a buyer agency and a seller agency. I work and live in a very affluent area. Cape Cod in Massachusetts is a resort and second home area, so it was lovely. If you're a realtor, you probably like looking around people's houses and looking at this and that and checking out their appliance packages and looking in their closets. And, so that's a very fun experience, especially when the homes are quite beautiful and luxurious. Love people who sell real estate. Like that's my tribe. I love to be dressed up and to look, so I felt very, very much at home when I came back.
Very full
really
circle
did.
moment for you.
Yeah, it was great.
And so tell me about, because we've been through a very turbulent 3 years, right? From the low transaction count to how our industry was attacked last year, from the plaintiffs' attorneys are a couple of years in the making, but yes, last year's where it played out, even to like the debates about CCP and all of your advocacy work through NAR. And again, I enjoy our conversations because you and I can go into the weeds with that. But how have you seen the business shift and, going into 2025 with maybe newer agents who are concerned about the shifts? How would you suggest they look at that opportunity?
Number one, I would say absolutely stay connected to leaders that you believe in and that you resonate with. And make sure you're aligned with a brokerage that is run by people you respect and who are at the forefront of the industry. It is a time when the whole world, what's up is down, what's right is left, there's disinformation everywhere. It's so important. I mean, we handle big things. These are big things. This is not buying a car or buying a fur coat. This is often the largest financial transaction a family will ever have. And even if it's not the single largest, it's big stuff. So it's on us to continue to stay connected and be well educated about what is happening right now in our industry, be able to explain that, be able to have a suite of documents to give to your buyers and sellers. So I would say if you are new, find a mentor locally. Find a friend who's been around for a little bit longer. It doesn't have to be any formal relationship necessarily. We have a great formal program in EXP, but you can always find someone somewhere who you look up to, who's done a whole lot more than you, and ask them if you can ride with them and run with them. I really think that that's probably the biggest advice I would give to a new agent coming in now.
And you do a lot in addition to selling homes inside of the industry. Talk to us what kind of drove you, because I know you're involved with us, but you're also involved with NAR. We have a podcast coming. By the time this will come out, it will have already dropped with myself and Nikia, the CEO of NAR, and you made that happen. I always like to give people credit
Thank
where
you.
credit is due. So tell me how that journey took on for you, right? So because being able to have that level of rapport and relationships with the organized real estate industry is not common for folks.
So, for me, I used to believe what the Dalai Lama said, which is that the purpose of life is to be happy. And that has really evolved into the purpose of life is to be useful. And being useful is what really makes me happy. So showing up and plugging in and volunteering in wherever I am, whether it's, a church group, a yoga community, my profession, I've been willing always to kind of show up and plug in. And I have a lot of big ideas. I'm a big idea person. I'm not a great, I always need to have S and C's. I'm big on DISC, right? I'm always need to have S and C's with me to help support, those big crazy ideas. But when you have big crazy ideas, you need to work within an organization. I've been around volunteer management for a long time. When I was in massage for those 10 years, I was the president of the Massachusetts chapter of the American Massage Therapy Association. Like, I gravitate to leadership roles where I can hopefully make a difference and leave things a little bit better than they were when I got here. So when I got back to real estate, within that first year, I used to do an EXP Explained with my good friends Dick Lee and Tom Trong. We used to call it Two Asians and a Blonde. And we would do, every Wednesday during pandemic, we would do these EXP Explained online. And one of the slides was this national AAC. And I thought, and it was some pretty powerful looking people on on this slide. And I thought, oh, what in the heck is that? So I looked into it. And then the next round that came up, I thought, well, I'm just going to put my name in, and I was invited to join the group, and I've been with them for a couple of years. So a lot of it is seeing opportunities to maybe to join and to make a difference. And I've tried to do that in our profession. I'm very involved in the Residential Real Estate Council for many years. And then I've always applied to be on a committee at NAR just to see how it all works. Volunteer management, volunteer organizations are really, really interesting. I've been doing it for a long time. And it's important to have great leaders who appreciate when you show up and whose expectations are aligned with that. So I've always been on a committee. I was on Business Issue Policy Committee for like 5 years, which is very wonky, but quite interesting. A lot of RESPA stuff, and what do you do with all the marijuana cash in states where it's not legal, and there's just a lot. And then I got that phone call from my friend Kevin Sears, who is also from Massachusetts and was going to be the incoming president. And he said, hey, I saw your name on a list for Resort and Second Home Committee, which I had served on for a year. Would you like to serve as the vice chair? And of course, I said, absolutely, Kevin. Thank you so much for asking me. So I served. And so this year I serve as the chair of that committee. And there are things that I'm able to do as chair there, as well as chair of the Agent Advisory Council. You have these big ideas, but then when it's finally your turn, you get to hopefully implement some of them. And it's all around collaboration. It's all around increased communication, all those things that we always talk about. But what I've found also most of all is that when you volunteer at that level, whether it's on your local board, your state board, a national board, an AAC committee, a state AAC, you are with other people who also put their neck out there, threw their hat in the ring, whatever. Most of us are not waiting for our check in the mail, right? Like, there's a reason you do those things. And it's usually because you want to make the world a better place. So I get to be around people all the time, and I've continued to find that tribe. And that's what feeds my soul. That's what makes me feel useful. And then as a result, that's what makes me happy.
Since you just took over as chair of AAC and you've had some ideas, why don't you share some of them? Okay,
so one of the things that I heard even before being vice chair was, so this is the third year that we are implementing or having the state AAC program. And one of the things that I've heard for a while is that some of the state AACs kind of felt like they were wandering in the desert. Some were doing great, killing it, sharing best practices, like just rocking it. But we have a lot. We have 50, right? So, and now we have commercial. And so I thought, well, I would love to be able to create a program that was actually memorialized, a specific connectivity, collaboration between the national AAC and the state AACs. And I ran into a little bit of pushback because I think there was a misconception at the time that I may have been talking about the AAC, national AAC, solving some problems locally or, dictating how things should be done. And was not my intention at all. It was more to create kind of this mutual channel. So then this year, when it was my turn, there are 13 of us on the national AAC, and there are 13 regional directors now. So I thought, oh, okay, what if we paired up a national AAC member, a regional director, and then that national AAC member would have a natural connection with the states that that regional director was part of. And fortunately for me, the regional directors were just charged with doing a quarterly meeting with their regions. So my best friend ChatGPT and I got together with many of these ideas and kind of spit out a program, and I talked to a number of leadership in EXP, and they told me what their concerns were, and and asked me to commit to making sure that whatever the concerns were locally, that we would bubble those up, and that we'd look for themes, and that it would be another way for us to really connect to the boots on the ground. So I'm very excited to say that we just unrolled that program a few weeks ago, and all of our national AACs now are connected to a regional director, and they're all plugging in. They have a card on our Trello board. Each one has one, and they're all plugging in to the regional directors, and they're showing up and saying, how can I be of service in that first regional meeting? And so time will tell. As Patrick says, we'll trial it, and we'll see. We'll test and trial and test. So that's where we're at. But I'm just very excited to, I called it the bridge, but what else would you call it? Just really excited to have the opportunity to create that collaboration and remind everybody, again, that to me, the heart of volunteering is to meet the other people that are volunteering at that time.
No, and what you said and what you touched on with Patrick is actually something that Glenn says all the time. We're forever in beta, right? So, and that's the fun part about leadership, where if you're super involved, and it's okay to fail, right? We make decisions very quickly, and we try stuff, and sometimes it works, and we do more of it, and sometimes it flops, and then we say, okay, that didn't work, and then we move on to the next thing. I think so many people get stuck in analysis and, oh, well, what if it doesn't work? It's like, who cares? Just try, right? And if it works, you get instant feedback, right? It's the same for marketing. It's the same for a script. Like say this 10 times to somebody, then say that 10 times to somebody, and then you'll actually have an A/B test. But I think the same goes for implementing ideas. The other stuff I'm curious about with you is, tell us about you're an EXP Luxury ambassador. How did you find EXP Luxury, and how has it helped your business? And for someone listening who's curious, or maybe has a story to why they're not able to do luxury, talk me through that.
Sure, I'd love to. It's something that also really inspires me for a couple of reasons. But so I have been a luxury ambassador since the program was developed. When I first got here, I wanted to say, don't you people know who I think I am? I came from a pretty luxurious Remax, really a very elegant, and Tom Trong chased me for about a year until I finally slowed down long enough to just put the numbers down on paper. And then for me, I tell people, I'd like to say I came for the inspiration and all that. I came for the money. I did. But I stay for a lot of other reasons. But when I got here, oh my God, we had that blue and orange bug. It was just dreadful. And so most of us kind of started doing our own thing, which is even worse, right? Then you got a million things going out there. Could have been pink, purple, who knows? You're supposed to run everything by, but people are just doing all kinds of wacky things. So when we had a million meetings. We had meetings everywhere. Pete Middleton, we had meetings about luxury. I don't know how many meetings we had. And it just wasn't taken up. The reins were not taken up by leadership for a long time. And it was tough. Everyone was going to continue to create all their own stuff. So when we finally got the buy-in from leadership to start the division, I remember we were in Las Vegas, and there was a line of like hundreds of people just to get into the listening session as the program was going to be unrolled. And we were all just so grateful that there was going to be something that didn't look like blue and orange and just so tacky and horrible. We had no idea of what else was going to be offered. We didn't even care. And that was definitely something that we were building in the air. We were flying the plane and building it at the same time, for sure. But it's continued to be something that is so remarkable and really an industry standard. I know people that came here just because we use the LuxVT platform. So EXP Luxury itself is an amazing suite of of tools, of presentations, of everything you could ever imagine. But we also have a syndication platform that immediately syndicates out from Wall Street Journal, James Report, Mansion Global, every luxury publication you could imagine. Your listings immediately will go there. You are given all kinds of social media stuff, but most importantly, we have weekly masterminds with luxury realtors across the country, not people who are, writing books about it. I mean, actual luxury realtors. Every week, it's a different focus, but there's live training all the time, and we continue to improve what we have. So the barrier to entry, I think, for some aspirational agents was the yearly fee. And so then we developed, well, then you can pay at close. Put some money up front, pay at close. Like, we continue to try to look at how can we pull in and attract more agents to join the division. Most of us had to start somewhere. Nobody was given a $3 million listing, right? And one of my mentors in luxury, Jack Cotton, who's also in beautiful Cape Cod in Massachusetts, he talks about that first one and about connecting with other realtors who are in the luxury space and tagging along with them. But being able to say to a client, hey, you know what? So-and-so is a great luxury realtor in our market, but they've got 7 listings. I'll only have 1, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, and I'm telling you right now, I'm going to give you 1,000% of my time and all my team behind me. And you just kind of plug everybody that you know in that's going to be on your team. And that's how we do it. So learning from each other, building that self-confidence. I think the resources that we're offering with all of the live trainings and all of the, Janie Coffee, all the people that contribute so generously, Tina Call, that slowly gives you the confidence to go into that listing. We're also looking at what kinds of mentorship programs, and we're always looking, we're keeping a good eye on FastCap, and we're always looking at how we can improve what we're offering. So I'm thrilled to be part of EXP Luxury.
And being early in 2025, what is your focus, or for an agent listening who is either starting their career or is unsure of how to move forward in 2025? What do you think is that one thing that you're focused on, or you suggest people focus on for 2025?
Honestly, I have gone back. I used to have somebody on my team that did a lot of the belly-to-belly stuff. All of the I was kind of the big gun that came in with the pen, the big pen, and got the signature and then showed up at the closing. I'm doing a lot more belly-to-belly with people, a lot more. And the main reason is I think we're being asked to show up. We've always done the same thing. I think, quite frankly, our structures that we have been talking about, the decoupling of, they're primarily, I only find in my market that they're pretty much the same as they've always been. But we're asked to talk about and to show up in a much different way now. And I don't mean it to say that we need to be defensive about what we do. We need to do it. We just need to do it. We need to be there. We need to do those pre-home inspections. We need to show up when... I had a home inspector the other day, saw this pipe in the basement. And because he was one of those, it might be from a buried oil tank. This house never had oil. We all kind of went like, what? But he planted this crazy seed of madness with the buyers. And 2 days later, my home inspector, on my birthday, the two of us hiked up there and took a look. And of course, it was not a buried oil tank. It was an old propane line. But like doing that kind of thing, you have to just do your work. Do the work that we're getting paid all this great money for. So I would say just be a fabulous realtor. Always go the extra mile. If you're in a transaction with someone else and they're not doing what they should be doing, my first real estate coach said, that's okay, you do it. Then it's done right. And be quiet about it. So that's what I would say. Just be great in everything that you do. Always try to figure out how you can do the very best job that you can.
In every successful real estate agent or team leader I've met, there's normally one thing they do consistently, whether it's, circle prospect or post consistently and create content that's unique. And the beauty of it is there's like 50, 100 different good answers. What is Lisa's one thing that, Monday through Friday, with a couple exceptions, you do without fail that makes you a great agent at driving inbound leads?
I'm going to tell you something that I think you may not have heard before. We'll see.
Let's go.
I have a really strong meditation practice every day, every morning, and that changes my life. That gives me clarity about what the next right thing is. It reminds me that I need to stay humble. It reminds me of the important things in my life. It allows me to have the optimistic attitude that I have, and it allows me to handle the craziness that happens in real estate for sure. You know, whether it's with other agents or whether it's with clients, that absolutely is what I would say is what I do, and it's not Monday through Friday. It's
7 days
on
a
daily,
week.
absolutely.
And then from a lead gen perspective, is there a specific one that you, because I have not heard that one before, but I always like the tactical, right? Yeah. So would you say, what is the lead gen?
So what I do, actually, my business, as many of us that have been around for a while now, is all referral based. Mm-hmm. And so, but also because of my association of volunteering, a lot of my referrals are other agents. It's not just people. Of course, it's people, but it's also other agents. So I have a number of different lists. I have an assistant, thank you God, almost 4 years. Couldn't do any of this without him. I have a number of different lists. So we continue to innovate how we can touch those people. Just yesterday, we sent out a thing about how EXP is matching the donations for the California wildfire folks that were affected. Sent out a big thing locally about our ADU legislation that was just passed. Like, I'm always looking for important, timely content, and I do a lot of video. If you saw my video set up too, I was thinking I have to take a picture, but I have my phone in it. I have like a Maui Jim box, and then this crazy tripod, and then my phone, and this crazy setup in my office. But I do videos all the time, couple of minute videos about whatever it is I'm sending out.
And who is the target audience? Because again, referrals from other agents is a phenomenal way to do it.
So 2, or 3, 4. So one is all the referral partners that we continue to add.
So agents with or without us, just
correct. Oh yeah, it's mostly not folks that are in EXP, and then of course past clients. I also have the list for all the Cape Cod agents, so that's about 2,400. So I email them all the time. There is nobody on Cape Cod that can say that, they're always like, oh yeah, I just got a video. And then I also have a list of folks that I've curated over time who were curious about what we do. So I have a bunch of different lists. I use BombBomb. I always have.
And you do different content for the different lists?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes. But like if we're doing a special event, when it's something really important, I often send it to everyone. So that's a big list. But BombBomb is so great on deliverability. There's no question. I mean, I've done a lot of things over time. That's definitely the one that I use. So now I haven't done a lot of prospecting. I am doing more now. I have 2 neighborhoods that I farm, 2 high-end condo complexes that I farm. One in my town, one that I sold the 2 highest condos that were ever there. And so I have a postcard campaign that goes out. I've been doing it for over 2 years, and there's a scanning code on the back. So anyone who ever scans goes into a separate list. And I just sent them a video email, and we do that with some frequency. All of my MLS searches, I know when someone clicks on something that they've seen, they all go into a list. I send those to Raymar, he puts those in a list. I just sent, I see that you've searched something in the last 6 months. Can we revise your search? So there's things that I'm continually looking at, now in terms of prospecting as things are quieter. Things absolutely are quieter. I haven't noticed it as much as I have in the past few months because it wasn't that quiet.
Well, Lisa, you've shared some amazing nuggets. Even stuff that I think comes natural to you is very intentional, right? So the fact, and the meditation was a first, but also just even the intentionality of having a list of agents. So there's a content that's relevant to the agent, which is, a good way to stay in touch with them. But the end result is actually referrals from across the country based on your associations that internally and externally in the industry. And
the referral partner ones, we always send a monthly update. My assistant has like a great 1-page thing, with anyway, it's really, really good. And I also send some fun things that are happening that month on Cape Cod. So it just keeps Cape Cod in their inbox and fun things that are happening, whether it's art exhibits or events or so it's kind of like a Cape Cod monthly newsletter that at least, even if they don't read the whole thing, they'll just see Cape Cod, Lisa, Cape Cod, in their inbox.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, Lisa, thank you for making your way all the way down to Miami to spend some time with me this morning. I look forward to seeing you at the next EXPCon event. And thank you so much for sharing and for your leadership within EXP.
Well, I will say the same thing. Thank you for your leadership, Leo. It means the world to all of us.